Thanks for stopping by, guys. It's Al here playing some more Scrap Mechanic. Today I'm looking at a creation I've been working on it for a little bit. Originally I had planned on doing the full release today. However, I ran into a few issues that have made the creation a problem. I originally thought I'd fixed them, but I guess I had not. I'm going to talk about what the creation is, what its intentions are, and the problem I ran into. I will be redoing it hopefully soon and have a full working version, but today I'm just going to go over the concept of it completely. Some people might have seen this in a sneak peek during the the new hardware update that I did recently. Starting at the front, the basic idea is it's a screen. It was intended to be a multi-purpose screen that could be attached to multiple creations as needed and allow full functionality easily, and that concept kind of evolved into the idea of having a screen with the full screen and audio and stuff, which could be hooked up using cartridges like this one here. This one is just an empty blank cartridge, so if I rip it open, the idea was that people who understand some of the logic in Scrap Mechanic can take one of these cartridges, which has like all these color-coded pins and all these ways you can use it and all this stuff already set up for you with the screen and audio already set up for you, and they could simply put some logic in this blank area to program some simple animations and music and stuff like that. So actually, I'm not gonna put this one on the screen, but if I go ahead and go into my bench and I grab a sign card, this is an old prototype card. This is the card you actually saw in the hardware update. So if I take a block and I grab a weld tool, they are kind of loud because I will go over what's actually in these cards here in a second, how the cards work. There we go, and there we go. Now if I take this off the lift, you will start to see a sine wave generated, and all of this is running off the card. As you can see, the quality isn't the best. That's one of the issues I had, and I thought I had fixed most of that. However, I eventually had that same issue reoccur, which made it difficult, if not impossible, to use. So if I can get up in here, I'm sorry if it's a bit loud because this does use thrusters. Originally I was going to use controllers to actually move arms, which would activate the sensors, but they weren't fast enough. So instead I found it was actually useful to put these two long suspension pieces on 3 and the thrusters on 4, which is what they come as standard, I do believe. Throw a bit of logic in the back, and this creates a sine wave. As you can see, the pins moving and the sensors picking them up, and this allows me to send data to the screen. If I wanted to, I could have audio as well, but I didn't bother to put audio on this card. As you can see, I don't even have the audio area selected. So while I'm still here with the empty, kind of unshelled version of this screen, this prototype entertainment system is kind of what I've been referring to this project as, but it's kind of a multi-purpose thing. I'm going to go over what these pins actually are. These 4 white pins here select your rows, or I should say your columns, that you want to update. Whenever you select a column, it will trigger it to update, and whatever is in these green pins, these green data pins, will display on that column. So you use white to select the column and you use green to put data on it. Now these purple or pink ones are actually audio. So if I cover this and then these blues, hopefully you can hear that pretty well. You can just select your audio and make some basic music, hopefully, with this. One issue with this is you can't really select 2 at the same time, or else you get a mix of the tones. You don't get 2 separate ones, sadly. So with kind of the shell looked at, or the inner guts I should say looked at, the concept behind these cards, and I should note in some of the later versions, like this one has a pin up here which detects when the card is plugged in to avoid what happens with the sign card. Because it runs constantly, even if it's not plugged in, it gets really annoying. So here's what I was hoping to get. You will notice these 6 extra pins. These 6 extra pins send data from the cartridge, or not from the cartridge, from the console to the cartridge in a controller, using a controller which I have set up. And this here also detects when a cartridge is plugged in. At the moment, it really does nothing other than turn a light on up here. Inside, it's mostly the same as that version over there. There's a few changes, and unfortunately I was not able to get this completely working, but the concept was you hit the switch and you can have a controller, so you could play animations, music if you wanted to, and someone had the time to set up a cartridge. You could set up games as well as use this to control pretty much anything you wanted to that needed a screen of this size. Just tuck that back away. And yeah, it worked well originally, but it did have some problems. So if I actually grab this sign card, if I come over here, I can actually attach this card to this one, and it should send data just fine. I'm getting a bit of frame rate issue. As you can see, the screen is bugging out a bit more than that one over there. That's kind of part of the issue, because this card is an older version compared to this console. So I'm actually going to get rid of this sign card once again, once I've demonstrated it. I'm actually going to grab this one. This one is the newest version of the card or cartridge, and was actually specifically built for this to test it. So if I come over here, and this is where the problem lies, in this band right here. This side worked just fine, but the problem is these pixels should be shifted over 1. So this row right here should actually be lining up with this row of lights, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why that is. I'm not sure if it's a mistake with how I set up the card, or if it's a mistake with how I set up the actual console. So if I actually shut up. If I actually go up here and select all these, and done, and delete those, that should set that last row. It has not properly, apparently. Wait, did it? Did it actually? No, one of them's not on. There should be 3 on. But this is what I mean by I'm having issues with it. There's little things here and there that don't work, and I'm not sure why. The screen, literally how it's built, I'm not going to grab one, but these little slivers, these little sections that you see in the screen are literally, this pixel right here was built, this top pixel here was built, and they were stacked, and they were given a full like reset system and wired up to be proper columns. And then once I had this column, it's literally stacked side by side by side. So I have no clue why half of this screen is working, half of it isn't. I think it has to do with some of the timing I have set up in the center, or the central part of the screen, and if that is the case, that means I will have to do a complete rebuild of the screen. So the project is on hold at the moment, and it will not be released in this state until I have figured out why it's not working. I have talked to a few people about possibly helping on this project. I really love the idea of allowing people to make cartridges for a console that can be used for many different purposes. As you can see, it's already semi-working, and I want to fix it and I want to get it actually working. I know at this point it's kind of hard to talk about some of the stuff because I've went over the basics of how everything works. If I go into any more detail, I might start confusing a lot of people. If you enjoy this concept, please let me know, because I do want to try and fix everything and actually get this working. And I do want to talk to some people who might know why this isn't working. But without further ado, I do need to go ahead and round out this episode. Yes, it does say empty. I'm aware it's not empty. Actually, it has stuff in it. That one over there is empty. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and end this episode. If you did enjoy the episode, please leave a like. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, please comment them down below. If you enjoy the channel, enjoy what I'm doing, please subscribe. It helps out a lot. Until next time, this has been Al, trying to make a cartridge-based entertainment system. Peace.